Welcome to the Missouri Liberty Alliance. Today is Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. Hey gang, there is new news, came out yesterday. Unfortunately, couldn't finish up a video yesterday to actually get this information out, but it's actually something that we expected. We knew this was coming. And this is actually beyond the DOJ now. We have the city and county of St. Louis suing the state of Missouri over the new SAPA law. So they're not real happy with that legislation, similar to the Department of Justice. So we are under attack with our new SAPA law here in the state of Missouri. So before I go further, let's go ahead and take a listen to this video in which the news covered. Actually, they covered both sides. So let's take a listen.
For federal gun laws. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Emily Manley joins us live with how the governor and the attorney general say they're going to fight tooth and nail to protect Missourians' Second Amendment rights. Emily.
Well, that's right, Sandy. The United States Justice Department sent this 7-page letter to Governor Mike Parson and Attorney General Eric Schmitt Wednesday, warning them of the relationship that's on the line by these federal gun laws being invalid in Missouri. Well, the two sent a response today back to the department, and they said that they're not going to sit there and watch the federal government tell Missourians how to live their lives. Earlier this week, Governor Mike Parson signed the Second Amendment Preservation Act. The law prohibits law enforcement officers in Missouri from enforcing federal gun laws.
This law doesn't impact federal law enforcement. It does impact our state enforcement.
Republican Representative Jared Taylor sponsored the bill that also fines police departments up to $50,000 if an officer violates someone's Second Amendment rights.
I just found that pretty hysterical, that they seemed offended that we would do this and that we're not going to help them.
The justice wants clarification of the new law that would protect Missourians from enforcing ghost guns and red flag laws. The 7-page letter mentioned the murder rates in Missouri, reading, measures that impair the effective enforcement of federal law will increase the risk of violent crime in our communities. It then states a state cannot nullify federal law. Taylor says it doesn't, since the federal government can still enforce the laws.
We're not going to help you enforce your unconstitutional gun laws. That's the point of this bill. And by us not helping participate, it's going to be pretty hard to do it in the state of Missouri.
The DOJ letter says Missouri also receives ample federal grants and assistance for law enforcement.
Missourians want to make sure that our Second Amendment rights are protected. And if that means losing a little bit of federal aid as far as money goes, I think that we're willing to do that.
Now, in the letter that Parson and Schmitt sent back to the DOJ today, they said that Missouri is not nullifying gun laws. Instead, they're protecting Missourians from overreach of the federal government and the right to keep and bear arms. Representative Taylor told me today that he still expects this legislation to end up in court. Reporting live tonight from Missouri State Capitol Bureau in Jefferson City, I'm Emily Manley, Fox 2 News.
Okay, Jared Taylor did a very good explanation, because this is being repeated over and over and over again, which is we nullified federal law. We did not nullify federal law. That federal law simply isn't acknowledged by law enforcement in the state of Missouri, nor the courts, as far as the Second Amendment is concerned, by the way. So this is literally a process we're going to have to go through of litigation to determine whether or not anti-commandeering doctrine is effective in getting the Fed out of the state of Missouri. We expected this, we knew this was coming, and we know it's been upheld many times by many courts over many years. So we're looking forward to that challenge, actually. We're not afraid of it, let's put it that way. So to show you guys, and I'll link everything right down below as I always do, it's already in CaseNet, and of course it was yesterday. So literally we're talking 9 days after the governor signed the law is when actually the lawsuit was filed by the city and county of St. Louis. So you can see the parties and attorneys here. The city of St. Louis County, both the plaintiffs. And who is, of course, the defendant? That would be Eric Schmitt, the Attorney General of the state of Missouri. So actually I do have a call to action, gang. I'm doing this today, and I recommend you guys do the same thing. I'll go, and basically, here's the phone number. It's 816, area code 816-889-3090. Once again, it'll be linked down below. So trust me, we'll be linked up, But I want you guys to let Eric Schmidt know, or let his office know, thank you, your appreciation for having our backs. And also to let him know we have his back as well. This is important stuff, gang. We need to let him know. Now, the Democrat minority leader, and that is John Rizzo, actually spoke just a little bit, and this is just a little snippet. I wish I had more of this, but I can't find it, about the litigation that's about to begin with the Second Amendment Preservation Act. So let's take a listen to that little snippet.
Talk about something else that passed. I just kind of noticed the Democrats, when the thing is called SAPA, the Second Amendment Preservation Act, I guess. They, you kind of let that go, and I picked up from you and some of your colleagues, and I don't know if you actually said this out loud, but one of the reasons why maybe you didn't hold that up or you did deals to let that go was you were pretty confident that wouldn't stand a court challenge. Now, if I'm mistaken, this bill makes it illegal for a Missouri police officer to enforce a federal gun law that's stricter than Missouri's. Now, it seems like that'd be a challenging thing for an officer to decide in the fly how to go back and know which one. But and then this week the Department of Justice sent down a letter that says this will not work. I don't feel like you would have been that surprised by that letter.
No. We looked through it, obviously during session. We felt like it was blatantly unconstitutional. We also felt like it was a slap in the face to law enforcement in the state of Missouri. They could be fined up to $50,000 for enforcing gun laws in the state of Missouri. There was no delineation of which ones. So, we get this back the blue stuff from the Republican Party constantly, but yet they refuse to have a commission on what happened on January 6th. They refuse to support the police officers by putting them in a grab bag to not knowing which laws they can enforce and can't enforce when it comes to guns without getting fined or being a target by the state of Missouri.
Okay, gang, I know that video was longer than that snippet, but that was the only thing that they talked about, for the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Okay, so let's go forward to the DOJ losing the battle over the Second Amendment sanctuary states. So this is a problem for the federal government. Why? Because actually freedom is spreading around just a bit. We have a natural right to self-defense acknowledged by the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment isn't what gives us the right to bear arms, gang. It's an affirmation of a natural right. And that's something that the federal government doesn't acknowledge at this point in time. They say your rights actually come from the government. Well, actually, the Constitution was written in a very special way to say that our rights actually come from our Creator, and that the federal government can't take them away. Before we go into, and we won't do this today, but before we go into talking about the Constitution and the nature of it, which is actually to apply restrictions to the power of the federal government, people keep saying, well, you can't do this, it's unconstitutional. You can't do that to citizens. To citizens, residents, what word you want to choose for the people of Missouri, the restrictions are on government in the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was actually restrictions of the government on the people. To put more plainly, restrictions on how the government can treat the people. And so once you get past the 10th Amendment, it gets a little different. So it's very important to understand this. The Constitution and the Second Amendment reaffirm our natural right to self-defense. And that's what that's all about. The right to keep and bear arms is a natural right, not a constitutional right. So the 10th Amendment Center did a write-up on this several years ago. I'll link this down below as well. But guys, stay tuned. This is starting to warm up a little bit. Like anything else, this is going to take some time. This isn't going to be something that's it's going to go to the Supreme Court in a week or two. No, it sure won't. It's going to take time. We have to go through, and by the way, we're very confident. We here on the side of SAPA are extremely confident that the courts really can't strike this down because it's using anti-commandeering doctrine. The very same thing that makes marijuana legal in many, many states, that's anti-commandeering doctrine, by the way. The federal government still says marijuana is illegal. Also, sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants also uses anti-commandeering doctrine. So we're using anti-commandeering doctrine to say the federal government's infringements on your right to bear arms, a natural right from your creator or from nature, whatever you want to say, cannot be infringed upon by the federal government. Yet the federal government continues these infringements, and they don't want states following in Missouri's footsteps. So they're trying to squash this whole operation right now. But this is a larger movement, gang. And one thing I would absolutely love if we could do is have a contest between the states to see which state can actually legislate its way to the most amount of freedom and the highest amount of liberty for their residents. I would love if we had a contest like that, because right now it seems like Texas and Missouri, are possibly, and there's even an argument for New Hampshire. Although they rarely make the news, it's a very different situation up there. But I think at this point in time, we're going to have a lot of news coming out of, and basically also too, when you talk about the police chief, who actually resigned, I think, he may be the first, but as literally it looks more and more like this literally will be upheld by the courts. The SAPA legislation, which is now law, will have probably some other people in law enforcement who don't believe in natural rights, who don't believe in your right to self-defense, that really do believe that needs to be policed, by, police officers, sheriff's deputies, state police, what have you, and that the courts need to also help restrict your natural right to self-defense, because there are people that truly believe that. And that's another podcast in itself. Why do we have violence in our society? Why do we have gun violence? Is it because there's too many guns out there? Or do we have another problem that the media and the government, the federal government, don't want to talk about? Okay, that's it for today. You guys stay tuned here. There's going to be a lot more news coming out on this, and we're also going to be doing a lot more live podcasts out of our Discord group. So stay tuned for that. You guys, thank you for taking a few minutes for watching Missouri Liberty Alliance. May God bless each and every one of you. Take care, gang.